Hey, we should be live. Should be live. I do believe. I will eventually learn how this streaming thing is supposed to work. So how is everyone doing tonight on this fine, lovely Thursday afternoon? It is Thursday once again, and we are back in Dark Souls 1. Yep, cool. Yep, we are live. Okay, cool. Make sure. Welcome in. Just so everyone knows, there will be a brief intermission shortly because delivery is late. Simply put. So it's Friday morning in Japan. I'd believe it. Time is a funny thing. Time is a funny thing made by clock sellers to sell us more clocks. So, topic of this stream, the initial topic that I will inevitably get sidetracked on, is going to be the effects of astrology on magick. Because I don't know if y'all know, but we're currently in Venus retrograde and Saturn retrograde, with Mercury retrograde right around the corner. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the various effects of astrology on magick, because sometimes people overthink about it, and sometimes people underthink about it, and I would like to present a more balanced opinion on the entire thing. So that's what we're going to do in this stream. So, for those of you who don't know what astrology is the kind of practice of seeing where the various stars in the sky are at any given time, and making judgments about how they are going to affect people. And, you know, they're going to affect people, and they're going to affect various different things. They're going to affect people, places, different groups differently, and magick is one of the aspects that they also are known to affect. Now, magically speaking, this is why we actually care about... This is why we actually care about... I'm like talking, playing game, and waiting for barking. Because I'm fully expecting my dogs to bark when the delivery guy shows up. But anyways. Yeah, so astrology is going to affect magick differently. Welcome in, Google user. Depending on what you're doing. So the most common thing that you're going to know just from pop culture is going to be retrogrades. Retrogrades are going to be, I would argue, by and large, the most popular thing that people are going to know about when it comes to magick being affected. Particularly Mercury retrograde. Venus retrograde as well, and Saturn retrograde has its places amongst the things as well. But by and large, retrogrades are going to be the biggest thing. Thank you, Lord Maru, for the $2 super chat. I support you. I appreciate your support. Thank you. What book would you recommend on understanding astrology in and magick? in a magical or occult sense. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through and you're going to want to come up to that conclusion on your own, more or less, is my understanding. Because I've never really found a good book on it. I think the closest one is Agrippa, but when I'm recommending Agrippa, you know that's a bad sign, I would argue. So yeah, unfortunately, the best one is apparently Agrippa. Make of that what you will. So the best one's going to be Agrippa. Now, keep in mind, not every retrograde is going to be a problem. Some can actually be, dare I say it, beneficial. Yes. Go. Yeah, there's not really good material on it. That being said, the thing that people are mostly going to know is... God. We're beating this boss. Anyways. The thing that most people are going to know is that there are retrogrades, and those retrogrades are going to fuck with magic. The other major thing that people are going to know, and this is less of an astrology thing and more of just an aspect of how the moon works, they're going to know the void of courses. I have a video coming up all about that kind of stuff. All the various retrogrades in the void of course moon. But those are going to be the most... Those are going to have the biggest effect on magic in terms of they change how the planet functions. For the most part, every planetary power is going to function more or less the same, regardless of what sign it's in, regardless of what is aspecting it. It's all more or less going to be the same. The only exception is the retrogrades in the moon being void of course. Now, that being said, some angel talismans use astrological symbols. Do retrogrades impact those workings? No, they do not impact those workings. So that's another thing. Astrology is When it comes to what astrology actually affects, it affects spirits that are below the planetary powers. Now, this means that you're not going to have any issue. You're not really going to have any issues with angels when you're dealing with retrogrades. Now, that being said, the main thing affecting talismans is the astrological circumstances at the time of their creation or consecration. Yes, that is the important bit for those. Good. Really bad at this fight. It's been years. Oh boy. So yeah, for talismans, it's more about, like, you need to pay attention to the astrological time. That being said, just because the astrological time is weird doesn't mean that it's going to be like, oh, I've made this at the wrong time, the wrong day, the wrong hour. And so, just because that is the case doesn't mean that you're going to have a fucked up talisman for the rest of your life if you make it slightly wrong. Because I don't know if you've read the old grimoires, but some of those have very bizarre requirements for when you create them. very bizarre requirements. Like, you need to make... So this is something I complained about in the Ars Pauline video, I think. The Ars Pauline talismans are basically randomly thrown together, in my opinion. They're randomly thrown together in a kind of haphazard way, even. And they're not really good. They're not, like, you know, you're not going to... There we go. Cool. Got my shield up. Got my soul spears out. Alright, cool. Those talismans aren't exactly very well conceived, because they'll be for, like, you need to command the spirits of Venus or the spirits of Libra, and then it's like, yeah, go throw some, like, gold, some silver, some copper into a crucible, turn that into a disc, then engrave these symbols on it. But only when the moon is in, like, Pisces or some shit. And it's like, what? Doesn't really make any sense. I mean, I don't think it makes any sense, and if... You know, I tend to be more lenient towards the old grimoires than most, I would assume. Just due to the nature of my practice. Yeah, hold on. I want to get through this guy. Oh, that just instantly kills me. Okay, cool. The greed was real. I had a mammon moment. Anyways. Yeah, so... The way that astrology affects magic is going to be different based on what kind of magic you're actually doing. And I'm going to take this moment. I will be right back. And back. Sorry about that. Needed to make sure that my dogs didn't maul the pizza man. Anyways. So yeah. The various different types of magic are going to be affected differently based on what you're doing and the different types of magic you're doing. And I'm just going to sit at the bonfire while I get this set up. So now my controller is screwed up. Did Mercury retrograde start? Is that what's going on here? Did Mercury retrograde start recently? Am I just stupid? Is that what's going on? I could be stupid. Could have brain rot. That's possible. we're going to say here. Like, open these up. So yeah. The different types of magic are going to be affected differently by astrology. Now, the most drastic one I've heard of is actually of an evocation of one of the moon goddesses. I forget which one. And the moon goddess in question was very cordial, very chill, very, moon goddessy, normal, really. Then, all of a sudden, the moon goes void of course. Moon goes void of course. Void of course moon goes happens. Immediately during the evocation, the magician, the person who was doing the operation, noticed that she started to snap, like mentally. She mentally started to snap, and she actually went kind of crazy. Like, the madness of the moon that we typically think of. Come to find out, he goes ahead, and he checks the astrological weather, which is what I call astrology sometimes. He goes and checks the astrology. Turns out the moon went void of course mid-operation. And the exact moment that they started going crazy is the exact moment that the moon went void of course. And I believe that I tell that story in the moon void of course video. But yeah, so that's going to be, in case you needed a explanation of how much the moon void of course affects things, it can affect closer to the earth goddesses. Now, what I mean by that is things like Gabriel are more or less going to be fine. Gabriel isn't going to have an issue with moon void of course. You don't need to pay attention to the moon void of course if you're just trying to talk to the Archangel Gabriel, or if you're doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. You don't need to worry about moon void of course. However, you do need to worry about moon void of course if you're trying to actually do A, something with the moon, or B, something that is not just daily magic work. Now, daily magic work, you're going to have no problem just doing daily magic work. That being said, daily magic work is not going to be something that you're going to want to do every time. And you might be wondering, is there any kind of rituals, what about deities like Hecate or Isis? Those are above it. So the way to look at it is if a deity corresponds strongly to Bina, Chokmah, or Kether, they're above it. This would be your Thoths, this would be your Hecates, this would be your Isis, your Odins, those are all going to be above it. Those kind of things are going to be above it, and you really don't need to pay attention to it with those entities. Now, you will have to pay attention to, like, your Solines. Your Solines, your, oh, what's her name? I can't remember the moon goddesses right now. That really, says a lot about me, I think. Yeah, it shows what I know about the moon goddesses. Anyways, but you're going to have a problem with those particular goddesses, because those correspond to the planetary power. Now, specifically, if you get a high-tier manifestation, it overrides it. Now, fun fact about astrology that is referenced in Agrippa. Does everyone know what the best day for generosity is? Artificial spirits above or below? Artificial spirits are below. We have a short little pop quiz. Does anyone know what spirits are or what the best day for freedom spells is. Because the best day for freedom spells, regardless of what you're doing, is if you live in the United States of America, it's called the 4th of July. Also known around the world as Freedom Day. And the reason for this is because according to Agrippa, holidays have an innate magical power to override astrological effects. Christmas will still be Christmas even if all of the planetary powers are at war with each other. There's actually a story of this. I believe in World War I, there was a Christmas ceasefire. What ended up happening was the Germans and the rest of the world were basically like, hey, it's Christmas. I don't want to fight you. You don't want to fight me. Do you want to just, like, have a temporary ceasefire? They had a temporary ceasefire. And my understanding is if the generals and stuff didn't go ahead and, like, stop it right there and, like, stop the fraternization at the end, after that Christmas, there would have been no more war. Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because astrology basically is like, it can be fucking Saturn retrograde, void of course moon all day. Sun is combusting everything in the sign of, like, everything is in fall. Would everything be able to? Yeah, everything could be in fall, with the exception of, like, Venus. No, like, everything's in fall, detriment, and everything is, like, negatively aspecting each other. And it will still be Christmas on Christmas Eve. Like, it will still be Christmas on Christmas. It will still be the 4th of July on the 4th of July, if you live in the States. That's another important thing. Just because a holiday is secular doesn't mean it doesn't have a magical power to itself. Because secular holidays often have power. Christmas really is a magical holiday, isn't it? I mean, Christmas and Thanksgiving. I actually have, like, a magical practice that I do every year on Thanksgiving, which is just, I go ahead and every Thanksgiving, I go ahead and I put out some offerings for all the spirits that have helped me throughout the year. And I do this, and I've been doing this every single year. And it's just great. Better be good. What's a good source for checking the astrological weather? I like Astrotheme. Like, Astrotheme is pretty good. If you need to put in a transit chart, that's fine too. I wouldn't recommend astro.com anymore. Oh yeah, better be good Christmas joke. Oh good, I should have done this talk in July because I'm talking about Christmas so much. 4th of July is an excellent example of a secular holiday charged around freedom, but without any particular god involved. Yeah, exactly. So, you want to do a road opener? If you live in the States, the Statue of Liberty is just Libertas? Yes. If you want to do a road opener, right? If you're a fun occultist, and now that I've eaten at least some of the takeout, we're going to go kill Artorias of the Abyss again. For real this time. If you are an occultist, and you're trying to do a road opener, and you're trying to do your road opener on a day in July, specifically, there is no better day to do that road opener than on the 4th of July if you live in the States. If you have if your country has an Independence Day of any kind, or like a National Day of Freedom, or I don't know what they would say in, like, more totalitarian countries, he says, living in the States, which is run by the media. Anyways, if your country has a day of freedom, what I would highly recommend is go grab your orange candles, at the beginning of the day, at like dawn, before all the fireworks, you burn the candle, and if you time it just right, if you time this right, you can have a candle going, and if you time it really, like, you gotta be really precise with this, you can time it so the fireworks start going off right as your candle burns out. Now, I, of course, am not going to say that you need that level of precision, but you got to admit, it would be pretty insane to do that. That is just kind of an insane thing to do. So yeah, holidays are going to completely and totally override astrology when it comes down to it. Is there any time you shouldn't do dailies? I mean, I would say if you've already done them for the day. Probably. Ooh, shit. I don't think I'm allowed to answer that question by YouTube. Skeptic. Like, I don't think YouTube will allow me to answer that question. Like, theoretically, that would be true, right? Come on. Halloween in Japan has become a wildly raucous affair over the past few years. I can believe that. For the rest of the world, if you need to talk to your ancestors, Halloween is the day to do it. For those of you wondering. But yeah. Also, for those of you who don't know, the Zodiac does have an effect on your magic. Like, the different signs are going to affect your magic. So, like, a spell will manifest differently if Mercury is in, like, Scorpio compared to Taurus. That's a kind of an extreme example, but a better, more subtle example is Leo and Aries are not the same sign. They will affect your magic differently in kind. So make of that what you will and keep that in mind, because that is an important thing to know. That is an important thing to know. Looks like this is turning into a semi-holiday stream. I should have done this in July. I mean, I said that already, but, like, I should have done this in July and because I'm talking about Christmas so much, and, you know. There's no good holidays in summer here in the States, at least. We're almost done with summer, and we're getting to fall, but, yeah. So, make of that what you will. Make of that what you will. But I'm trying to steer it back to the Zodiac. So, back to astrology, I guess. Hindsight is 2020. Yeah, I suppose so. So, when you're going through... Come on. Let me... There we go. Rolled there. Okay, game. We might just grind. This might be another grind stream, and then I finish everything tomorrow. Or next stream, I guess. Could you give a brief rundown on how the different signs affect one's magic? It depends on the planet in question. So, if you're talking about, like, in general, the way it's going to work is something like this. Aries is going to be the violent, explosive one, and they're going to start things. But Aries gets very bored. Do not use Aries for long-term magic. Taurus, on the other hand, is the enduring one, who is going to be for long-term magic and more physical physical things. But if Taurus doesn't work out, you're going to want to go to a different sign, see Capricorn. And the reason why you go to Capricorn if Taurus isn't working for you is because Capricorn is cardinal Earth, Taurus is fixed Earth. So Taurus has the problems moving after it, like if it's stationary, it's not going to move very much, but Capricorn being cardinal Earth is going to be the beginning one. Right? Now that being said, Gemini is going to be the more communicative one. I've noticed that Gemini causes a lot of knowledge to be shared, and it causes a lot of communication to be had. Cancer is for emotions and just generalized. It's going to manifest. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, I'm probably the least fan of. Well, no, that's not true. Mercury in Scorpio is best for healing. Like, if you're doing a spell and you want good healing, Mercury in Scorpio. Yep, there we go. Alright, I'm going to go to the Undead Parish, and we're going to be doing Seath first. So, this may turn into a quick grinding stream. Unfortunately. We will endure. So, Cancer is going to be kind of weird. Cancer is going to be the more emotional one. This is going to get you like your TV style endings where it's like, and then they went through and they lived happily ever after. That's more of a Cancer thing. Leo is going to be explosive. Not as explosive as Aries, but it's going to be the enduring fire. So this is going to be for long-term effects that are going to be, you want to be the center of attention, you use the sign of Leo. You want things to be fun, you use the sign of Leo. You want things to be explosive and dramatic, but you want them to not peter out like Aries, you use the sign of Leo. That's what the sign of Leo is most definitely for. Actually, you know what we can do? Nito, first of the undead. Or first of the dead. First, I suppose. Yeah, so that's going to be how that's going to work. And when you go through and you find the sign of Virgo, Virgo is going to be the... If you need a spell to be as pedantic as possible, and I mean pedantic. We're talking like full pedantic antics. Pedantic antics. You're going to want to use the sign of Virgo, because Virgo is the perfectionist of the zodiac. Now, going from there, if you need things to be balanced, you want Libra. Libra is going to be the balanced, and this is also the law planet, or planet, I mess these up all the time. This is going to be the law sign. And Venus ruling Libra is kind of funny because Libra is the sign of, like, the justice system to some extent. So, you're going to want to be careful with the sign of Libra and make sure that what you're doing is just, or at least balanced. You're going to want it to be balanced, right? I went the wrong place. Cool, let's go. You're going to want Libra magic to be balanced. Scorpio is going to be the changing one. Scorpio changes basically everything. That is Scorpio's entire MO, is changing everything. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on what's being changed. Now, oftentimes you will notice that people... Scorpio has a bit of a reputation amongst people into astrology. And the reason for that is because, you know, Scorpio has a reputation of being kind of a absolutely miserable sign to engage with. Like, so when you're dealing with Scorpio and your magical rituals, you need to make sure that you're dealing with it properly, because it is also the sign of mysteries, deaths, and secrets. And that being said, death in this context is actually shorthand for transformation. Sagittarius is going to be fun. This is going to be more philosophical and long distance. That being said, there's not really anything notable about Sagittarius in my opinion. You know, depending on which planet is in Sagittarius, that's going to cause you bigger issues. Capricorn is going to be the more, this is going to be the real hard-ass sign for manifesting physical reality. If the sign of Taurus ain't working for you, the sign of Capricorn will. There's like a weird, I don't know what it is. Well, I do know. It's because it's cardinal Earth instead of fixed Earth. But, like, there's a weird thing where if you go to the sign of Capricorn after you've failed with Taurus, it will usually work. From there, you have Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius is going to be the most eccentric of these signs, and it's going to be kind of a weird one. It's just kind of the weirdo sign. No offense to the Aquarius, but, like, no offense to people with Aquarius, but when planets go through the sign of Aquarius, they turn into, like, these ultra humanitarian planets, even if they're supposed to be, like, aggressively selfless. Like, Mars goes, I'm not fighting the war for me, I'm fighting the war for everyone else. Like, that kind of thing. Which is weird. Which is weird, because that's not how Mars usually acts. But that really is how the sign of Aquarius changes planetary powers, at the very least. Now, you also have the sign of Pisces, which I'm just going to say it flat out. I absolutely hate the sign of Pisces 99% of the time. So, here's the problem. The sign of Pisces is all about loneliness, solitude, the dream world, and the astral planes. So there's you will get intuition about how your Pisces spells will manifest way beforehand. So that is Pisces magic. Also, Pisces magic works better when you're drunk, in my experience. I don't know why, but it does. That's a weird thing about the sign of Pisces. Probably because it, like, corresponds to drunkenness, I guess. If the date seasons of the sign have changed, can you still work with that particular energy? What do you mean by this? Are you asking about, like, tropical versus western? Because the dates are kind of... like, I'm curious as to what you mean by that. How do natal signs affect one's magic over their lifetime? Some people are naturally going to be better at different types of magic than others. It's just naturally how that is going to be, and it depends more on the person than their natal chart, to be honest, but it's entirely possible that their natal chart, like, will indicate that you're really good at visualization, and then turns out that they're really good at scrying. Because they got that, like, Piscean birth chart going on, which, Moon in Pisces is probably the most psychic sign, and also the sign that is, like, straight up depression a large portion of the time. As sad as that sounds. Yeah, Google user, if you're talking about, like, the difference between, like, just because they moved in just because the signs moved in real life doesn't mean that you can't work with that energy, because it's like, oh yeah, no, in sidereal astrology, the sign is actually like Capricorn, but it's actually like I wanted to work with the sign of Sagittarius or something. Like that, you're not really going to have an issue with in Western, because it's more fixed sky sectors instead of... In Western astrology, we're mostly dealing with sky sectors instead of the actual, like, zodiac proper. Like, if it's not Leo season, can you still work with that energy, if that makes sense? Oh, you can absolutely work with the zodiac signs if it's not, like... If nothing is in the sign, you can still work with it. Like, you can still work with the energy of Cancer, just because... Cancer doesn't stop existing just because no signs are... Like, no planets are in the sign of Cancer. Right? The sign of Cancer is still going to be the sign of Cancer. It's just going to be... There's no planets in the sign of Cancer. So, in fact... This is going to cause a little bit of an issue where there is no power behind the sign, but you want to work with the sign. Because a good way of looking at it is that the... A good way to look at it is the signs are the lens for the power's laser. So, it is going through the lens of Cancer. If it's like the sun is in Cancer, it's going through the lens of Cancer. If it's going through Leo, it's going through the lens of Leo. Which would be very good for the sun, because the sun actually rules over Leo. Now, there's also a wonderful situation... So, this is something that I gotta, like, do a video. I think I did, like, a Patreon exclusive about this for the elements, but the various things that will happen when you go through and you try to figure out what zodiac sign rules what is kind of insane. Like, Agrippa will have you make protective talismans. I think when the sun is like going through Sagittarius or something. It was either Agrippa or the Pauline. It's like a really bizarre thing where they have you go through and they have you like, oh yes, go make this talisman for Mars and do it when the sun is transiting Sagittarius, and like you have to do it on the first Thursday of the sun being in Sagittarius. And it's like, oh god, what? Like, I don't know about you guys, but you gotta calculate that stuff in advance. It's not always the most fun stuff to calculate, honestly. Because if you're calculating it, that means that you want to make a talisman. And making talismans, by the way, is an absolute nightmare for the majority of situations. Talisman making is an absolute pain. At some point, I will... Just, like, even if you're making, like, paper talismans, they can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Because paper talismans, if you're doing them right, should be made on the right day, and the right hour, and the right time, but you're not always going to have access to that right time. So, I honestly, I just prefer not making talismans, because they're kind of a pain. But I know some people do. Some people love their talismans, and for those people, more power to you. Okay, we're still good. What is those? Soul of a Proud Knight? Cool, good. Yeah, so when you're going and doing... And keep in mind, when I say astrology affects magic, I mostly mean planetary. Like, I'm obviously talking about planetary for the most part. For the most part. There is, like I mentioned, the moon being void, of course. That is actually going to affect all types of magic, not just... That is going to affect all types of magic, not just... planetary, and especially not just planetary. And, yeah, I'm gonna have to give up a shield slot. I don't want to have to cancel there. Super topical for me. Yeah. I tend to do that a lot, I've noticed. I just do that on accident, like, where people will just be like, I need to know how to do X, and then it's like, I will make a video on it. That was rude. Okay. So now is where we probably die. Because I forget where to go. Nope, cool. I remember where to go. I'm the best. Anyways. Yeah, so when you're dealing with spirits, that's going to be different from dealing with the planetary powers directly as well. So, like, spirits, I mentioned the story of Selene, but there's also been stories, and I'm not sure how accurate these are, but there has been at least one story I've heard of that is a spirit of Mercury was evoked before and after the transit out of Mercury retrograde. There we go. So, the spirits of Mercury were called up before and after Mercury retrograde. And what ended up happening was that they had a moment where they were like, alright, break time's over, boys, and they had to, like, go back to work, was the way it was interpreted. I'm in the bad part of Dark Souls. Cool. That's what I mean when I say I'm in the bad part of Dark Souls. Are average people's mental stability do average people's mental stability take a hit during something like Moon being void? Of course. Like the idea of the full moon causing lunacy. So, yeah, we're already past playtime. This is the catacombs, unfortunately. Which is, much worse, in my opinion. I just run through here. No, I cannot. Cool. Anyways. So, let me tell you a little bit of a story that I heard. And I don't know how true this is because I haven't looked it up, but I'm willing to bet that it's true. There was a U.S. president named Richard Nixon. I think it was Nixon. And he got into a little scandal which became known as Watergate. Now, he denied this publicly on television. Multiple times, in fact. He did this basically every time he was on TV. He was doing this. Well, every single interview he allegedly did about this I didn't even know there was a Dark Knight down here. Okay. Anyways. That is very, very good rewards. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm so dead. I'm not. I'm the best. So every single interview he did that was about Watergate was done during a moon void of course, except for one of them. That one was done during a direct moon. The next day, he resigned. So I'm not saying that the moon of course affects normal people. I'm heavily implying that the moon affects normal people in ways that they aren't aware of. Now, it's possible that he had an astrologer. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. I never met the guy. But at the same time, would I believe that an astrologer made it so that he got out of that with no issues because he did all of his interviews during a moon void of course? Yeah, I can believe that. Oh, according to my memory, every interview Reagan had the astrology that was timed for a void of course, so no one paid attention to the fact that he believed in it. Yeah, so that definitely... Yeah, that is, I believe that. Did I say Nixon? Whoever the Watergate president was. Also, running through, no, 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 no. Get me through the fog door. Cool, we're good. So time affects magic, but can magic affect time? You can override astrological... You can override astrological effects using magic, yes. You can actually, if you... I've heard of people invoking the proper time. A lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram transmutes astrological negativities? No, it does not. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram does not transmute astrological negativities because it does not affect the planets. It affects the elements. That's what the pentagram is for. I would love to know where you got that so I can correct whoever told you that, because that's just not true. Most wealthy people in large corporations seem to work with astrology or hire astrologers. Yeah, there's a phrase that was, what was his name? I believe it was a quote by J.P. Morgan that said, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Which, that in and of itself is pretty... cool, yeah. Love that stuff. Remind me, you don't come back to life, do you? No, you don't. Cool. Yeah, no. So, big corporations are definitely going to be using astrology. They're going to be using astrology as much as they can get away with, realistically speaking. That being said, you will notice, if you go to a company, and they're a tech company, every single time that they release a feature that their user base doesn't like, it is always during a fucking Mercury retrograde. Every single time. This just keeps happening. Most recently, it happened with, I think, Microsoft. It happened with Discord. It's happened with Google numerous times. At this point, Google should release a... Google at some point should actually go through and get an astrologer, because it would actually make them No, 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 no. At some point, Google should get an astrologer, because it would probably give them better PR about their features. That makes sense. Small expense to spend an extra point of for an extra point of leverage. I mean, you say that, but astrology is not cheap. Like if you want an astrologer, astrology readings are not cheap if you get a good astrologer. The proletariat must work with astrology too. I mean, if we could get the money magic working, that wouldn't be a problem. So I think now I can finally switch back to my regular weapon. Switch back to this. Cheap in terms of how much money flowing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That is 100% true, I'd say. 100% true. Yeah, cool. Dead. Do you think that that is partially why some of the older companies are so cemented despite social change because of the astrological work? So, let me explain this on no uncertain terms. You ready? Do you know what the planetary power associated with old businesses is? Saturn. Do you know what the zodiac sign associated with long-lasting, enduring corporations is? Capricorn. So, the thing about that is you're going to want to go through and you're going to want to look at all of these old companies. And these old companies are going to all have the same thing in common. They're going to be old, they're not going to change, and they're not going to accept people's complaints. Because if they did, they would die. Like, I don't think people realize. People say, oh, you need to change with the times, right? If it's not broke, don't fix it, is the key. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is the primary law. You don't need to change with the times if it ain't broke. If your company is still able to give your CEOs millions of dollars, you don't really need to care. If you're still able to afford your astrologer to make sure your new product lines go out without a hitch, you don't need to care. Right, exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Everyone wants to fix what isn't broken nowadays. There's a lot of things that are broken that we just don't want to fix because looking at them makes our eyes hurt. Slightly joking, but it's broke by design. Not everything is broke by design. Not everything is broke by design. Some things are broke due to a misunderstanding of why they exist in the first place. Yeah. Because fixing something actually broken is actual work. Yeah, no, that is entirely true. Fixing something that isn't... And here's the thing. If you just go ahead and you try to fix something that you don't know why it's even there in the first place, you're going to have problems. Because there's a lot of people who want to fix things that aren't broken. And they never ask why they're there in the first place. They never look at the history of things. If you don't look at the history of things, you will never actually figure out why those things were there in the first place. And they will just come back. If you don't understand the root cause of a problem, the root cause, because I'm a magician and I'm a hermetic magician specifically, so I get to play linguistic games, if you don't understand the root cause of the problem, well, roots grow back. Well, things grow out of the roots. So if you're not sure why they're going to be there, you can't fix them properly. You're doing a temporary bandage fix. Because for all intents and purposes, you are trying to fix a symptom, not the problem. Now, astrology can actually help you determine whether or not you are, solving the actual problem. And the reason it does this is because if you go back all the way, and you go back to the natal chart of a company, follow the lead of the Adeptus Mechanicus. You don't need to understand it for it to work. You don't need to understand it for it to work, but you do need to understand it to fix it. Which, fun fact about the Adeptus Mechanicus, they actually, just ask in order to solve their problems a good chunk of the time. They just ask the machine spirits. Just kind of funny, all things considered. They're rolling. I forget where the bonfire is down here. I'll find it. Yeah, so the major issue is you need to know... And this is just good life advice. This isn't even occult advice. Just, if you don't understand why something is there, try to figure out why it's there first. Because most people are smart. If you see a problem, the first thing you should ask is, why would I do this? Right? And if you can't come up with an answer, that's a bad sign. Straight up, that's just a really bad sign. I mean, who better to ask? Yeah, no, that really is the case. How do I fix you? Oh, you just do this. Read the manual. Oh, boy. I will eventually get through the catacombs. Probably not today, though. It also does not help that when you go through and you're trying to magically fix something, if you phrase it wrong, it can make it worse. And I'm not saying magic is bad. I'm saying, it turns into a sorcerer's apprentice situation where it's you tried to fix the chores using magic, and then you ended up making more chores and you had to, everything is a mess. That really is a good way of looking at it. All things considered. So, that's that. Back to the original topic, the effects of astrology on magic. Yeah, so different talismans. I think I've tried to say this point, a couple of times. Different talismans are going to want to be made during different astrological times. That's just because they're going to be for different things, obviously. But you're not always going to know what the best one is. So you're not always going to know what the best time for a talisman is, and in cases like that, what you want to do is you want to go grab your orb, go grab your speculum, whatever you want to scry in, and you scry what the best time is. Alternatively, if you are more of the evocationary kind of person, like I am, the spirit you want to ask 9 times out of 10, if you don't have anyone better to ask, is going to be the Archangel Raphael. You're going to ask the Archangel Raphael, because the Archangel Raphael is going to be the one who is the theoretical aspects of magic. Raphael is the one who can teach you more about theoretical parts of magic, or magic in theory. Michael, the Archangel of Fire, is going to teach you about magic in practice. Together, if you evoke both of them, you can learn all of magic in theory and practice. Oh, God. I will eventually get through this area. How many more? Yeah, I have one more. That's cool. Though you can often tell somebody's competency to some degree by asking how various things work. Yeah, you really can. Funny thing about working in skill positions, like with people, even if you don't know how something works, you will eventually pick it up just from watching other people who are better at your job than you work. Case in point, IT people absolutely hate printers. We do. There was a post by, I think it was Eric Purdue on Twitter earlier, about how, according to Agrippa, Mercury rules over evil machinations, and somebody was like, he left out printers. And somebody then proceeded to say, I think printers are counted under and like explicitly named as evil machinations. So, funny occult joke there. But the thing about it is, if you watch somebody working on printers, you will eventually come to understand how to set up printers and how the various parts of a printer work. Same thing with cars, same thing with cooking. If you keep watching enough cooking shows, you will eventually learn through, osmosis, basically, how to cook properly. If you keep watching things, you will eventually learn how to cook properly. Which, this is why we should all be watching Gordon Ramsay, because Gordon Ramsay is apparently the best chef. Says a person who doesn't particularly like Gordon Ramsay's recipes half the time, because I've tried some of them. They're okay. They're very okay. Are they the be-all, end-all of recipes? In my opinion, no, they're not. Wary of tough animals. Yeah, so if you go through and you... Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So if you go through, you will eventually learn how to do things through that. I mean, isn't that how you suggest to learn magic? Learn through practice? I mean, that's how I suggest people learn everything. Because if you learn magic, you're going to want to learn magic through practice, because if you don't practice, you're going to just only know... Learning magic through just reading is like the people who just learn how to cook through watching Cooking Network and then don't actually cook anything that they see on the cooking shows, and then think they know how to cook because they've watched too much Gordon Ramsay. As dumb as that sounds. Like, there is a reason why you should be doing, magic properly. Blue Titanite for this. Reinforce armor. Can we reinforce the armor we're wearing? I actually can.
What was that about? Don't be coming around here without a good reason.
Yeah, I recommend people learn magic through practice because it just leads to, if you practice, you know what is a mistake. Is Amateur Magus the type that doesn't like Cancer because they won't tolerate bullshit? I mean, I have never had The only time I've had problems with Cancers is when there's an understanding issue. The only time I've had problems with Cancers is when there's a misunderstanding issue. The only sign I really don't have any fondness for whatsoever is Pisces, all things considered. Pisces is going to be the only sign that I'm just truly not a fan of. Just flat out, just nope. Nope, not a fan. As wild as that might sound to some people. Matt, theory plus practice equals comprehension. Yes, that is definitely true. Yeah, no, the only time I have problems with signs is the only times I have problems with signs is when they're inauthentic. That is the best way to put it. When signs are inauthentic is the issue. Can I buy? I cannot. Cool. Cool. Repair equipment. Yeah, no, I'm generally speaking, I don't have problems with Cancers unless there is a misunderstanding being had. If there's a misunderstanding being had, that is when the problems arise. That was not what I wanted. Cool. We're just grinding for souls at this point. Not where I wanted to, but whatever. Inauthentic things in general kind of suck. Yeah, I mean, I've got... My big 3 astrological placements are in fire signs, so that kind of drives me crazy. When people are not... The artificiality of people is, not one of my favorite things in modernity, I would say. I am an Aries. I am an Aries with Leo Moon and Sagittarius Rising. Just so there's not any questions about that in the chat. And I have no Capricorn in my chart whatsoever. That being said, I don't really interact with many Capricorns, all things considered. Met a Capricorn with problem with Libra and Cancer. What is that? Libra, Cancer, and Leos? I believe that. Capricorns are kind of... I'm more of an easygoing Aries, all things considered, but I know that a lot of Capricorns have issues with other people. I'm much more of a live and let be kind of person, majority of the time. A majority of the time I am a live and let be kind of person. With very few exceptions. All things considered, I think that it's probably the best approach to take for a majority of things. It's like, let people exist. Let people exist how they desire to exist. And don't really worry too much about the specifics. All things considered, probably the best approach you can take. I'm irritated that people can't even fake authenticity anymore. Lol, no personality. Which is why I hate modern wrestling. I haven't watched wrestling since the 90s, dude. Like, I get it.
Good day. What are you doing? Yeah. Wait, there's a stash of... I found it first. I own... Well, cool.
Our Libra Sun, Capricorn, Ascendant, fun times. Yeah, I believe that. Introduction to probably the best character in the game.
You're no pain, please, they will.
There we go. Shout out to Degeneration X era. Oh god. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. I love whenever I try to, like, respond to Twitter and people, like, correct me at this point. Like, that's my favorite thing. It's like, I'm sorry, let me just refer to the site formerly known as Twitter. Well, that's not terrifying. Just to clarify, you can invoke... Just to clarify, you can invoke the proper time, sign, and time for an operation, even if it is not the current time. You can, but it will be, like, you need to put a lot of emotion into that. It's better to just do it on the right time, because you're wasting energy trying to get the timing right when the timing is wrong, so you're fighting against the current. Every planet has different aspects of itself highlighted by all of the signs. Yes, different aspects of each of these signs are going to be highlighted through the different effects those signs have. Like, a good example is the sun. The sun is going to be... Oh, I meant Degeneration X Wrestling. Oh, yeah. Shows how long it's been since I've watched wrestling. Anyways, yeah, so the sun is going to be... The sun is going to have this, like, I'm a save the day complex all the time. But when it's in Aries, that is when the sign is, like, that to the max, really. Cool. Practice, practice, practice. Yes, really. So different signs will have the aspects as highlight. Now, the thing about... Hey, patches. Do I have any?
Righteous prevail again.
Alright, cool. Because the inauthenticity seems to consistently be a pervasive part of how the world is right now. That's because we live in the age of Mercury! The age of Mercury is all falsehood, lies, and thieves! Did an entire live stream on that. I need a chart to keep up with the astrological signs and how they relate to the omens and planets. It's a lot. They follow two patterns. The pattern is always going to be cardinal, fixed, mutable. And they're always going to go fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. And you start at Aries every single time. Now, the Golden Dawn will be like, oh, you don't start with Aries. This is bullshit. This is bullshit, and this is a blind put in by the Golden Dawn. The first sign across every culture has always been the equivalent of Aries. And this is the only thing that I think, one of the only things I think the Golden Dawn is full of shit on. Like, full of shit. And when I say the Golden Dawn, I mean the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Keep that in mind. I don't mean like the Greek Nazi. Talking about the people that kick Crowley down a flight of stairs. Which, by the way, there's been some debate recently about did Crowley actually get kicked down a flight of stairs. My opinion on the answer, regardless of what actually happened, is yes, Crowley got kicked down a flight of stairs. Darkness, one of the greatest adventures of Darkness, one of the greatest enemies of adventurers everywhere. No, that was me. That was me doing a dramatic recreation of Crowley getting kicked down a flight of stairs. Definitely was on purpose. Pinched myself. Cool. No, it doesn't. The LBRP does not transmute astrological negativity. I would love to know where you got that from, Samson. I genuinely do want to know who you got that from, because that is not true. Not astrological, at least. It does transmute negativity, but not astrological negativity. The drama of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is hysterical for how much influence they have. I mean, every modern, like, Western magic system is inspired in some regard by the Golden Dawn. Which is really funny about, like, how insane they are. I guess I was hoping that that wasn't the case because I'm a rather hopeful person, and I really don't want to quite accept that would be a thing for the majority of my life. The answer, the solution to inauthentic people is you need to be the most authentic person in your life. You need to be authentically you. You counteract the Mercurial lies with Jupiterian truth. That is how you solve that problem. Banish, banish, banish. Yep. Can't banish everything, unfortunately. We'd be a lot better off if we could. But unfortunately, there are some things that cannot be banished just through the lesser rituals. Sometimes you need to use the heavy-duty rituals. Sometimes you need to use the ritual equivalent of heavy-duty bleach. For everything else... it's usually not a big deal. All things considered. Ah, cool. We're at the Bone Dogs. Love the Bone Dogs. Well, at least there's a better solution than feeling... than the feeling of touch of luck. Yeah, no, the solution is you make your own luck by going through and you... You make your own luck. That's your solution. You'd... Gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh, this is a tip I just remembered, by the way. If you're having problems with the planetary force, invoke the opposite. Now, you can make an argument about which planetary force is the opposite of what. But, by and large, if you're having problems with, like, Mercury, you can invoke Jupiter and you will solve the problem. If you're having problems with Sun, you can invoke Saturn. If you're having problems with Saturn, invoke the Sun. Or, alternatively, you can invoke the Moon, depending on what the problem is. But you are going to want to invoke... You are going to want to invoke the opposite planet. In my view, luck equals preparation plus opportunity. Yeah, I can kind of believe that. I'd say I believe that based on the day. Depending on the day, I believe that more or less, yeah. There we go. That simple. Turns out with the sword and shield set up, we don't die as easily. Good. Almost got me. Almost got me again. Yeah, so if you're having problems with Saturn, invoke Sun. If you're having problems with Sun, invoke Saturn. Simple as. It's not that hard. Also, for the Golden Dawn drama, I'm just going to say this straight up. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is hilariously goofy. They are a hilariously goofy organization. If you are not familiar with their with the history of the Golden Dawn, there is a, what if you're having problems with the Sun and Saturn? You call up the Moon. If you're having problems with Sun and Saturn, call up the Moon. The reason why you call up the Moon if you're having problems with Sun and Saturn is the Sun, the Moon, and Saturn form a trifecta. They are pretty much the only trinity in the entirety of astrology. And the whole thing about them is that they form the father, son, mother, going from up down. If you put Saturn at off, at least. Which, if you've ever used the unicursal invocation of the hexagram, you have. Saturn in that system is above. So, yeah. But for all other problems, if you're having problems with, like, multiple planets, if you're having problems with a pair of opposites, the best thing to do is call up the Sun for those. Sun, or Sun, Mercury, or Jupiter, depending on the situation. Roughly speaking. Because there's a whole thing about it. Similar to Aristotle's approach to ethics, virtue is found between excess and deprivation. Just ask what aspect. Exactly. I don't think they follow me, so I think I'm good here. Yes, this is the bonfire I was looking for this entire time. Good. Sweet. Alright. Yeah. It's all a balancing act. By and large. And the important thing to note that is that there is a healthy amount of something for everyone. There is a healthy amount of sun, and then there is an unhealthy amount of sun. If you get too much sun, you get sunburned. Which I think is a pretty obvious take, but, you know, some people need to hear that. There is too much moon. There is too much Venus. There is too much Mars. There's definitely too much Mars. You can have too much Mercury, which, because we live in the age of Mercury, you're shit out of luck unless you start invoking Jupiter. Invoke that which you need, the work of the magician. It's different for everyone. Interesting. What's the best book for... What's the best book for staying planetary... For starting planetary work? Oh, the best book for starting planetary work. I know a lot of people like Rufus Opus's book, but I think Rufus Opus's book is not that great, personally. I know that other people like it, but I personally don't. Sweet. Because I don't personally like Rufus Opus's book, but I know a lot of other people do, so that's why I mention it. There is a book. There's a book literally titled Planetary Magic by Denning and Phillips. What a lot of people don't realize is that's not actually... That is a book about planetary magic in the Aurum Solis system, which is not the Golden Dawn system. That being said, I do think, because of how similar planets are in all systems, I think it's a very good book. The Denning and Phillips book is very good, in my opinion. Just know that it's not, like... Don't take it one-to-one with your Golden Dawn stuff. If you are a Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn fan, like I am. Old school video games used to be really, really beautiful. Anyways. There we go. Cool. The Denning and Phillips book is going to be probably your best bet for books. In the, I plan on doing a book review at some point of the Denning and Phillips book. It'll be out at some point. I have a lot of book reviews I need to do of books that I'm not the biggest fan of, and books that I am a fan of. Right, this is where you get the faith build stuff. Cool. Okay. Alright. Oh. We'll check it out. Thanks. Yep. No problem. It's a good book. There are definitely much worse books you could be reading on planetary magic, I'd say. And, while I'm thinking about it, I forget what is up with this area. Cool. Can you briefly touch on what you aren't keen on in the Seven Spheres book? Cool. So I'm glad you mentioned this. There's a part where he basically says, I wanted to go from Saturn down, but Saturn was too scary for me. And then he does Jupiter. And then if you read the Jupiter stuff, it's like, it reads like his Jupiterian stuff is... His Jupiterian work reads more like it's Saturn layered over top of Jupiter. Does that make sense? Like, don't get me wrong, it's still Jupiterian, but it comes across to me much more like Saturn. You aren't supposed to roll into solid objects. I was trying to roll it away from the children. The bone children. I forgot about the bone children here. Yeah, I'm so dead. Cool. If I had not bothered trying to defend, I would have survived. I think the problem with Rufus Opus's system is that he acknowledges the existence of the Chaldean Order, and then says, I want to use the Chaldean Order. And then he starts with Jupiter, which causes everything in his Jupiterian sphere to appear Saturnian. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with starting at Jupiter. Just don't fucking say you want to do the Chaldean Order, then start with Jupiter. I think that's the problem I have with it. I was in the darkness. Survived that time. It makes sense since Jupiter just jumbo-sized the Saturnian influence. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get... I get all the stuff like that the Jupiterian spirits helped him do, but at the same time, I can't help but say that reading the accounts and reading what happened makes me think that that Jupiterian spirit was the most Saturnian I don't know what that was the most Saturnian Jupiterian spirit I've ever heard of. So, yeah, make of that what you will. Make of that what you will. Was there another bonfire here that I forgot about? They're not wrong, it is a gorgeous view. Yeah, so the Saturnian power is definitely... And like, if you're gonna start with powers, and you don't want to do the standard lineup, if you haven't touched on it yet, can you briefly go over how the planetary retrogrades that we are about to face would affect our magic? If love magic isn't working for you, it will work better now because Venus retrograde is a thing. If you are planning on doing love magic and you are a normal person, don't do love magic. It will not work. If you have, I'll wait till tomorrow to rewatch it. Yeah, no, you're fine. I haven't talked about it. Mercury retrograde usually causes problems for all people who are planning on doing magic of all shapes and all sizes. Just kind of the way that it works. Saturn retrograde, really, I've noticed no problems with or without Saturn retrograde when doing magic, so I would say that that is kind of a non-factor in general. Skipping grade school, you gotta catch up one way or another. Well, Rufus Opus goes back and does Saturn at the very end. Like, that's also an important thing to realize, that he doesn't just skip Saturn, he does go do Saturn, but he does it at, like, the end. Do not remember. That's useful-ish. Not for me, but for someone. Yeah, so... Saturn retrograde really isn't going to affect your magic too much, in my opinion. But keep in mind that Saturn retrograde will affect your magic at some point. If you're trying to do regular Saturnian operations and Saturn is retrograde, that's obviously going to be a problem because Saturn is retrograde. If you're trying to do justice spells, I would say that it's probably better for Saturn retrograde. That's just a hunch, though. I'm not, like, I don't fully remember if that's how that works, but that feels accurate. There. Am I missing something here? Why are there so many cults around Saturn? Because for the longest period of time, Saturn was the main god amongst the world. And over time, that fell out of favor to the sun. Because over time, Saturn fell out of favor and... Nice. Saturn fell out of favor as the head god, and it became the solar powers instead. Which, you know, make of that what you will. Personally, I think the solar powers are more hospitable for 99.9% of people. That's just me, though. Okay, I think I'm at the nearest bonfire to this. I'm gonna take a quick look around just to see if I am. If I am, I'm just gonna... I'll just try to fight him. Thanks, you gave some points to think about. That's why these live streams exist. You get food for thought. I have no soul spears. Cool. It's true, it is an amazing item at. Cool. Dodge there. Alright. I did dodge there. Kind of bad about the fact that that didn't work, but whatever. Alright, cool. Oh, boy. Yeah, so why are there so many cults around Saturn? The reason why there's so many cults around Saturn is because... old god going to the new god. Still cults of the old god. That's the entire reason. That's why you have shit like the Black Cube and stuff. Any Black Cube fans in the chat? Any Saturn Death Cube chat? Or Saturn Death Cube fans in the chat? No judgment. No judgment of the Saturn Death Cube. There's another fucking bonfire in here. Yeah. The major thing about... The funny thing about Saturn... I'm sure I missed a lot, but does the Aeon have any influence on popularity of some rituals? Yes, Hermetic magic is more popular. Or magic that is given to you by liars is more popular. Make of that what you will. Do I think the Black Cube in Islam is related to Saturn? No. But it does have to do with the old gods are still being worshipped in new forms. Oh, I forgot about the Black Cube. I still have no idea where that came from in Islam. It came from the pre-Islamic pagans. It came from the pre-Islamic pagans. They are the ones who originally had the cube, and Muhammad kept the cube as part of their worship. Yeah, you know, liars. Like people who just tell you bad advice and don't give you, like, spiritually responsible stuff. Like, you know. Liars. You can go on social media and you can find all kinds of people telling you various magical things that are actually just full of shit. I would call those people liars. Because that's what they kind of sort of are. Oh, forgot there was one on top. Do I like a shorter bonfire here? I hate having to do this walk of shame every time I fucking die. Yeah. Like, when I say liars, I mean... Some people are going to be just telling you bullshit. And they're going to be lying to you. And the worst part is when they don't know that they're lying themselves. Like, some people will learn something, think it works, share it, not try it. I would say that those people are accidentally lying to you. I say accidentally because they're not intentionally doing it. So, holidays question, Halloween good time for working with saints. Saints have their own dedicated feast days, which would probably be better than just Halloween. Or All Saints Day. Talk more about this Black Cube. I remember seeing the grimoire for that cult. Is the Black Cube essentially Tartarus from Greek mythology? The Black Cube is basically just a gigantic black cube made of stone that is venerated by multiple groups of people, and it has a correlation to the planetary power of Saturn. Is it anything that you need to actually pay attention to 99% of the time? No. Should you know it exists? Yeah, it's a neat novelty. Does it actually matter? Yeah, again, I would say no. I would argue that the black cube does not actually matter for a majority of people. Like, if you're a magical practitioner, you don't need to worry about the black cube. It's just kind of a cult. Not like a cult, it's a cult. Which, you know. It's not actually that big of a deal. Going back to lying, what's what? What is the worst lie I've heard? Like, can you be a little bit more specific? I've heard a lot of lies. I'm old. I've heard a lot of lies. Do you mean just like in the occult or on social media? About what? There's some things I choose to believe are lies that are not actually lies. Like the, Crowley getting kicked down a flight of stairs, I believe. I believe that wholeheartedly. That's part of my, core. That's part of my core magical tradition, right there, is that believing that Crowley got kicked down a fucking flight of stairs. I'm sure there's a hexagram on... There is a hexagram on Saturn that looks like a cube. It's a hexagon, but yes, there is a... There is, in fact, a cube. There's a Saturnian cube. These guys are gonna keep coming back. These don't. Are there any special attributes to the date of one's birth? That's when your natal chart is made. Oh, shit. So dead. Magical lie? Emoji spells, probably. I hate this boss. I love Nito. I love Nito, first of the dead. So, okay, so magical lie, emoji spells. Emoji spells are a thing that was invented by Tumblr. And then people said, oh, it's actually magic, guys. You can charge it with your intent and you send it out in likes and retweets. Like, charge it and some shit. That is the biggest magical lie I've ever heard. That is bullshit. It is a waste of your time. And if you think about it for 5 seconds, it doesn't have any of the qualities of being a good magical ritual or a good magical spell. Is there any special attributes associated with one's day of birth? Yes, it's where your natal chart placement is, and it's your birthday. Happy birthday. It also means that it is your solar return, which is, it just means that you have better luck, and, like, things usually go better for you around that time. Just how that seems to work out. Oh yeah, Hexagon, reading too many occult books. Yep, I have the occultist problem where I auto-type magic with a K. Whenever I'm typing magic or anything magical, I always type with a K, and I have to go back and delete it. It's really fun. Canon, how important is knowing your natal chart placements? Knowing your natal chart placements is very important. It's... Well, okay. It is and it isn't. So, you could make the argument that knowing your natal chart placements is actually not that important, because they're just telling you shit that you already know. You could make that argument. I'm not going to make that argument, but you could. So, I am an Aries, but that being said, I am very much a diplomatic Aries, as it were. Which, if you find that in my chart, you would find that I have Mercury and Venus and Taurus conjunct. Which is much more of a diplomat placement than it is a warlike Aries placement. Because Taurus doesn't really like to fight. That being said, you'll also find that I have various placements in my chart, like I have Sagittarius rising, which in the majority of people that I know, Sagittarius rising causes people to have shitty eyes. No, I don't know why this is. I would love to know why God has decided that that's what Sagittarius rising means. But that seems to be a thing that keeps coming up. I think a lot of magical lies are the Left-Hand Path books. I think there are a lot of curses disguised as sigils of spirits. I mean, there's a difference between outright lies and blinds. Which I'm talking about lies right now, right? What you're talking about is more akin to a blind, which is an intentional misleading of the reader by the author. Let's see if I can do this right. There are many untruths in LHP books, however they aren't the spirit sigils. Yes, that is also very true. That is incredibly true, I would argue. Dodged him. Okay, here's the plan. We're gonna fix our sword. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. So that is the plan here. You've never heard that before. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's not exactly something that people are going to talk about very frequently. Because why would you, right? How often is that even going to come up, if you think about it?
I'll be seeing you. Be careful.
You know, like, how often are people going to be like, yeah, no, it's, like, how often are people going to be like, yeah, I'm a Sagittarius rising. That's when my eyes suck, because I was cursed by God. No one's going to say that. It could. It wouldn't be wrong, as a Sagittarius rising myself, who is also got glasses. Like, the different, like, thank you, Adris, for the super chat. We can tell the Sagittarius rising by the dodging. Oh, that's rude. That's rude. I appreciate you, but that's rude. Not wrong, though. Not wrong. So, I need to go to the depths. Yeah, cool. I need to go to the depths, get some Titanite stuff, level up my stuff, and then from there we go kill the first of the dead with a really fancy, overpowered sword. And that's an actual specific thing that doesn't sound like everyone would agree to it because it sounds nice. Oh, you mean like people wouldn't agree with like, yeah, all Sagittarius risings are nearsighted? It's just that we need glasses. I don't know what it is. Like we all, you know what it is? It's glasses make you look more philosophical. That's probably what it is. It makes us look more studious. Even if that's not entirely true. I would argue. So yeah. Yeah, you're gonna find a lot of those things. Adris really just super chatted to tell me I have skill issue. This is true. Yes. Occult Gaming, yes. I want to get this game done by next stream, so I might farm off stream just so we're all done because I kind of want to get to another game next month. Because I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if the people who play games are in the chat, but there are a lot of games that are coming out and have come out. And I feel bad for Bethesda for releasing Starfield when they are, because unfortunately, Game of the Decade, as I've been calling it, has been locked in. It's called Baldur's Gate 3. If you haven't tried Baldur's Gate 3, I highly recommend when you get around to it. It's a very good game, but yeah, that's Game of the Decade, unfortunately. There is no shot. Am I seriously not getting any green Titanite? Done? Surprising. The solution is very simple. Going to warp. And we will get it from the guy who's going to upgrade our weapons. He just really just supercharges to tell. Yeah. Okay. Hold up with chat. No, I mean the whole thing where there's a lot of zodiac sign placements just described very nicely in a lot of places, so nobody wants to argue, but I can't argue against me having garbage eyes. No. You really can't. You want to know? Okay. If you, with one exception to this, if you go study astrology and you become an occult astrologer, like you go study astrology and you study it pretty in depth and you understand what the symbols mean and what everything does and everything, you can find the weirdest stuff in people's charts. Like, you can find out if they had a shitty childhood. You can go find out if they have shitty eyes. You can find out if they're outrageously tall. Which I have done. Like, you can see it in the chart. I just think that's rather cool. Yeah, no, I don't do chart readings, I do chart roastings for people sometimes, where it's like, yeah, no, here's all the bad stuff in your chart that the books aren't going to tell you. Because I don't know if you know this, but the books kind of want you to be... The books are kind of written by fluff bunnies a little bit, you know? Not, like... You know, some of those books are really good, but at the same time, they are written by people who are not, like... They're biased, is a better way of putting it, I think. They're biased. They're biased towards, they want you to open up a random page, see nice, positive, fluffy things, and then just see the positive aspects and be like, oh, that's so wonderful. I'm a Gemini. I'm a Capri Sun. You know, I love the Capri Sun meme about astrology girls. That's a very funny meme to me. Will never not be funny. But yeah, no. You want to go ahead and you actually want to read the astrology books that are going to tell you, okay, here's the bad parts of your sign. Like, or they'll like, a lot of astrology books will be like, you might have problems with this, right? And it's like, they don't really actually give you the, like, they don't give you strong advice on it. Which is kind of annoying, all things considered, because I'd rather have, like, I'd rather you tell me what the problem is than not, you know? Like, I would rather be told what the I would rather be told what the issue is than not be told what the issue is, all things considered. Yeah, I think we're all set on that. I don't think I need to do anything there anymore. Cool. Cool. Let's use a homeward bone. Cool. Alright. Not where I thought I was, but whatever. Warp to the Undead Parish. Cool, cool. Watch them repeatedly get concerned as they start to wonder if you're a stalker. You wanna know? Your Capri Sun drinks you. That's pretty good. I'm sorry, is there a large divine number? Am I missing something here? Oh, there is, isn't there? Okay.
I'll be seeing you.
Whatever. How much less damage does this give me? Significant amount less. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah. Oh, for those of you wondering what my, what the difference between good astrologers, bad astrologers, and, like, what the difference between good tarot readers and bad tarot readers are, if a tarot reader or an astrologer is only telling you good things are gonna happen, yeah, that's a problem. I'm not a Capri Sun, I'm a juice cube. That's pretty good. Wait, back up the one. Yeah, sent us on a little bit of a detour. Not the worst thing in the world, all things considered. Of course I have to do this like the hard way, right? That's annoying. My working knowledge of astrology is searching up which birthdays correspond to which zodiac sign. Yeah, kind of. Here's how you can tell somebody who is a spiritually inclined person is not somebody you should want to listen to. If they're only telling you good things, red flag. If they're telling you good things, and the cards on the table are like Ten of Swords, the Devil, the Tower, and they're still telling you, oh, it's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be fine. That's a big problem. That's a big oof. If they're telling you consistently everything is gonna be all sunshine and rainbows, and the cards are like terrible, like consistently terrible, yeah, no, not good. I also think that the best readers, at least in person, are studied mentalists. They can read the cards as well as give insight, but they can also read the clients to give them a more dynamic reading. I would tend to agree with that, yeah. No, honestly, I'd probably know more if I could just get rid of the crippling procrastination. Yeah. A friend of mine was procrastinating the other day, and I showed her the song from the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings movie. And that motivated them. They were certifiably motivated. So you should check out Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. It's apparently a very motivating song. God, I fucking hate the second half of this game. Probably like sit at the bonfire this time too. Whatever. Hollow Knight is a fun game. I'm a high air sign chart. I don't procrastinate. I ponder excessively. Yeah, no. I'd say that after a certain point that is procrastination. Because you should be pondering the important things, not pondering random stuff. Where am I going? What is on this ledge? Don't know. We're gonna find out. Hopefully it's good. I don't know if that was good. Okay, cool. Hollow Knight is a fun game. Yeah, I want to finish this game before I go on to other games, because I don't know if you guys know this, there's a lot of good games out right now. And, I've currently only played 2 on the channel, and I'd like to play games that don't require me to, like, actually dodge so I can just read chat. Kinda like, no. Without having to actively pay attention all 2,000% of my brain constantly. The Occult Library game, Book of Hours, looks interesting. Yeah, the Book of Hours is out. Which I'm surprised that is out now. I'm actually kind of amazed. I wasn't expecting it to be out so soon. But it's been in development for, like, years, I guess. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it to be, like, out. For those of you who are not aware, Book of Hours is a game made by the developers behind Occultist Simulator. Don't let the name fool you, it's a very good game. And you play as an occult librarian. And your job is to preserve books. So. Looks very good. I oftentimes get random strong interest in things like a burning interest in beekeeping or cheese making. Usually, though, the practice in random intervals is not readily feasible to get started. Yeah, the solution there is you go through, it's called a YouTube rabbit hole. Because you can learn all different kinds of things watching experienced beekeepers and craftspeople. And funny enough, you can actually use that and apply it to your occult practice, believe it or not, oftentimes. Yep. You'd be surprised what kind of stuff you can pick up and learn from your occult practice. Like, you can pick up metal crafting videos, and then you can, like, apply stuff you learned in the metalworking videos to your practice. As insane as that might sound to some people. Honestly, occultism is my current burning interest. Occultism is my current lifestyle. Sorry, one moment, chat. There we go. Beat the boss. We did it. Cool. I finished the objective of the day. I finished the objective that I wanted to accomplish this stream, which was kill one of the major bosses. And I did kill probably one of the easiest ones, but you know what? Well, I'll take that. I'll take that victory. This is a... Is that Baldur Side Sword Divine? No, this is a S-Stock. I'm using an enchanted Baldur Side Sword for the main weapon. But I needed to use a divine weapon because I was sick and tired of dying to the ads in the Nito fight. Which is why we're using a Baldur Side Sword with enchanted, and we have an S-Stock with divine. +5. Because you don't really need a strong one for Nito. That being said, I did kind of choose him with magic, so yeah. Never before has my interest really started to change the way I see the world. I mean, occultism does that. Occultism is a hell of a drug.
Well, you need.
So now,
I'll be seeing you there.
I could go kill Sith, but I want to wait a minute, and I want to do the DLC before I kill him because I want the special scene that makes everyone feel bad. As fun fact, the Four Kings are the only boss you can defeat without placing the Lord Vessel. This is also one of the first games that I know of where fast travel is locked initially, because fast travel is locked because there is a lore reason why you get fast travel, which I'm a big fan of. So yeah. So can anyone... Okay, catching up a shot a little bit. So can someone follow the teachings of the Bible and still do magic as it is prohibited in several places? The Bible actually gives you passes for doing special types of magic. Like, the Bible actually has, like, written into the Gospels that it is okay to do certain types of magic. It's just that people do, like, people will do mental hiccups and mental gymnastics in order to say, no, that's not real, when it's absolutely real. Did I get the... I did get this. Cool. It's all about the terminology, the things it tells you to do, that you can do, it does not call magic. I mean, I suppose that's true. It's a difference in terms, I guess. What I would call magic is allowed. I mean, you're supposed to follow the path of Jesus, and he was going around banishing demons. I believe I've talked about that one. Yes, he was going around banishing demons. Hi, I'm a new viewer. Welcome in. Welcome in. On this stream, we talk about esotericism, occultism, astrology, and I play video games in the background. It's basically a mystical edutainment stream. Make of that what you will. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I hope it might be yours. Yeah, so... Like, so, Skeptic, there's a thing in the Bible where he outright says you can compel demons, but you should be focusing on the Lord. Like, it's in the Gospels according to Luke. So, think of that what you will, but I'm personally a big fan of that. Personally, I'm a big fan of that phrase, because it allows me to cause people to have a slight crisis of faith when it's like, yes, you can compel the demons. Especially when you're compelling them to get the fuck out. You were already given the authority by Big JC. I love it. Watched your videos on gnomes and elementals yesterday, and it was cool. Yeah, that, wait, is that the old one? Like, the really old one where it had, like, the Technicolor flames in the background? I don't know why that video keeps getting, well, like, I'm glad you're sticking around for that, because, like, that video was years ago at this point. But we're happy to have you in. Happy to have everyone. We love to see it. We love to see new people interested. Love to see it. So. Yep, that's the one. I gotta redo that at some point. It's like, I don't know why, but recently, like, that video catches the algorithm really well. That video, like, the algorithm really likes that video, so it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna take it down, but it is old, so, I don't know. It's a good video, though, man. It just lists off the elemental... For those of you who don't know, that just lists off the elemental hierarchy from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It just lists off, like, the elementals, what they do, it gives a brief topic about the elementals. Gnomes are in this year. They are. Gnomes are very in this year, apparently. Which I'm not gonna question. I ain't gonna question that one. But... yeah, so... that's what that video is. It's talking about the Elemental Kings, which at some point later this month, there might be a video on one of the Elemental Kings following my policy about talking about spirits. Possibly. Perhaps. Depends on how things go. So yes, we talk about occultism, esotericism. I play video games. We beat Nito First of the Dead earlier by cheesing him with Soul Spear because I can't constantly dodge and talk because that's just not how my brain works. Shouldn't have played Dark Souls with us. I'm new to this stuff entirely, but I want to learn about it. What got you into this type of stuff? I got into this type of stuff because I wanted to make my life better. That is why I got into it, and I have made my life better. And I continue to do it because it continues to make my life better. Have I mentioned my life is better? Yeah, that's why I do this. Personally, I am amused to see that gnome wizards are popular for Halloween this year. You're kidding me, what? No, that can't be real. Are we talking about Shadow Wizard Money Gang? We're talking about Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells. So I can believe that one, man. Shadow Wizard Money Gang shit. I do genuinely like the Shadow Wizard Money Gang things. Like, the Shadow Wizard Money Gang is very, very cool. The song is brought to you by the Shadow Government. How is your life improved? I make more money now. I'm not depressed. I don't want to die. I talk to ghosts, which is pretty cool. Depending on the day, I have accurate knowledge of the future. Depending on the weekend, I can talk to spirits who are just genuinely pretty cool. And depending on circumstances, I can do things that most people wouldn't dream of through coincidence. I'm told that Forest Gnome is the best race in Baldur's Gate 3 because the free refresh of the Speak with Animals spell. Wait, do they just get Speak with Animals? Like, the best spell in the game? Not, like, combat-wise, but, like, role-playing-wise? It's actually kind of nuts. So, in case you're wondering how magic has improved my life, I make more money, I am happier, other people in my life make more money. Shadow Wizard Money Gang, Junior Edition. Apparently that is a... Apparently there is a necklace that gives you Speak with Dead. Yeah, you get that early. It's pretty good. I like it. Baldur's Gate 3 is very good, by the way, if you're not familiar. But yeah. Why am I slow rolling? It's because I have this on, right? What's your method for talking with spirits? I have shaky experience through tarot and oracle cards. More... Looking for more solid ways. What you want to do is you want to develop a scrying practice. Now, you're going to find in the old grimoires of getting visions in X. Like in the Abramelin, it says you can get visions through dreams, through crystal, through water, that kind of thing. That is going to be a form of scrying. That's basically code for you are scrying things in that regard. Now, that being said, I'm going to recommend that you start slow with your scrying practice. If you want to scry things that you think, oh yeah, this will be interesting, go look up the tattvas of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. They literally are just shapes, and you just stare at them and you get mental impressions, and then they help you with scrying, and they help you mentally transport to places. That's what I personally think is a good start. Benjamin Rowe, I believe, has a scrying guide, if you can find it on the internet. It's pretty good. And from what I do, I just meditate and I scry, and then I start talking to the spirits, and it, like, works a majority of the time. Like, I just listen to them. Like, it's a direct form of spirit communication. You don't need the Tattva deck, you can just Google the image online and use that. And then just close your eyes. After you're finished staring at it for a little bit. Yeah. I think they added that necklace because of the bit from the movie. I could see that. I mean, but the Speak with Dead spell actually in Baldur's Gate 3 is actually, like, really good. Like, I've... No spoilers, but you can talk to way more people than you expect in Baldur's Gate 3. Both living and dead. As weird as that is. And you can talk to every animal in the game, to my understanding. They all have, like, unique dialogue. It's insane. So, very good game. Alright. Gonna check if I can upgrade my sword, and we'll go from there. I think next time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna humanity farm a little bit off stream. After I humanity farm, we will begin at the Daughter of Chaos, and we will save our buddy Solaire. Because I've decided to try to do as best of an ending playthrough as I can. I've been informed that Eric Purdue made a Barbie Grippa joke on Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean he made a Barbie Grippa joke on the platform formerly known as Twitter? I'd believe it. He's funny. I feel like a warlock with that necklace and beast speech would be able to talk with everything at all times. You're not wrong. You are not even close to wrong. I use the top for symbol on my phone when using them. When using them much of the time because I am too cheap to buy colored ink for my printer. That's pretty... I get it. You shouldn't do that, but I get it. Where's your outlook on Ouija boards? Stay away from them. It definitely seems like a lot of normal people are afraid of them, but I personally am uneducated on it entirely. Ouija boards are like calling a public phone. You don't know who you're going to get, and you might get somebody who is a real nasty individual. You may get somebody who's generally pretty chill, but at the same time, I don't believe it's worth trying to... I don't believe it's worth trying to mess around with in order to find out. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. That would be my opinion on it. Yes. Okay. Going to finish this stream like we finish a lot of our streams by teleporting to Firelink and just listening to the wonderful music as I answer some last-minute questions. Also, think about the type of people hanging around public phones. Exactly. That's why I don't like spirit boards. I don't like Ouija boards. Spirit boards are different. Spirit boards, I would say, you could probably get away with. They're pretty alright. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to sit here, we're going to enjoy listening to the music, and if anyone has any questions, I will answer them up before we finish, and if it's a really good question, it'll be the initial topic for next stream. That is how we are going to end the stream this time. So yeah. And hopefully I will fix my controller, because something is wrong with my controller. I don't know what, but we will find out. Also, because we're coming to the end of Dark Souls 1, if anyone has any ideas, you'd be hard-pressed to know if they were cool, because some of them not-so-good ones play the long game. Well, you really don't have a choice in playing the long game, because you basically kick them out of your house when you're done. Like, you basically just, quite literally, ghost them. Is Mithril real? Mithril is a different name for silver, so technically yes, but actually no. Technically yes. but actually no. How do you read an astrology chart? That's a topic for both a book and a video. But, play Baldur's Gate 3. I can't play Baldur's Gate 3. I'm enjoying it too much, and I don't want to spoil it for other people. How do you read an astrology chart? The way I read it is I go through, I don't use whole sign astrology, I use partial sign astrology, and I go through and I start from the ascendant and I work my way around the chart, and then I read the planets, and then I read the aspects that is affecting those planets afterwards. Have you had any experience with nature spirits? Are they good to work with for beginners? Depends on the nature spirit. Some nature spirits are absolutely nightmarish, and some of them are pretty good. What are you playing in Baldur's Gate 3? I am playing a gold dragonborn cleric of light, which I realize now was probably the most typecasting thing that I could have done other than play a wizard. Because I like playing clerics in 3rd edition or 5th edition. They're really fun, and you get Fireball, which is really fun. What are your thoughts on Foolish Fish's interpretation of the zodiac? Aries being Earth, Scorpio being fire, etc. Can you link me that? Can you link me that? Because that sounds like the dumbest interpretation I've ever heard of. And I want his explanation, because I'm sure that the context for why that is a valid explanation is missing. So I want to see that for myself. But for the moment, that sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I don't watch many Foolish Fish videos, I'll be honest. Paladin human for life. Generic paladin human. My favorite meme that has been going on with Baldur's Gate 3 is like, we have like 6,000 different race class competent human fighter two-handed sword. Like, I love the people who just play like the generic two-handed human fighters. It's great. Yeah, context is not here. Oh no, I'm hoping it's like the Damien Eccles thing, where he's not actually saying what he sounds like he's saying. I really hope this is like the Damien Eccles thing, where Damien Eccles is like, the HDA is actually the Demiurge, but it's actually not what he's saying. He's saying a lot of other stuff in there as well. I typed Foolish Fish Zodiac into the search bar and it gave me a bunch of stuff on Pisces. Context is in the video. Yeah, it's fine. If we can get that video, that'd be good. I'll have my topic on for last time. If you had one book to recommend to a beginner to read, what would it be? For beginners, the answer I usually... Okay, so I have a couple answers. I have a couple answers to this, actually. The first answer is going to be... Opinion on Adventures in Woo-Woo. I don't know what that one is, but that sounds like a funny name for a podcast about occultism, honestly. So for beginner occult books, I would highly, highly, highly recommend, if you are a normal person who is not capable of reading stuffy old British, I would highly recommend Llewellyn's Complete Book of Ceremonial Magic as like the first book to read, because it is kind of a starting manual on everything. And it is kind of a starting manual on like where to look for basically everything. If you had one book to recommend for a beginner... Yep, could just answer that. Okay, opinion on Adventures in Woo-Woo. Have not read or have not seen that. I probably should. That sounds very fun. I took the approach of I'll show you why it is man. I don't know what that's in reference to. Are you familiar with Josephine McCarthy's work? If I remember correctly, Josephine McCarthy is a very mixed bag. Yeah. For, like, individual practices, I have a video coming out next month, because my backlog is fucking massive on the Patreon, of Damien Eccles and his whole thing, his High Magic book. His High Magic book is quite good, actually. War Cleric? War Cleric? Oh, yeah. Yeah, War Cleric is pretty good. In BG3. Crappit's in one of his LBRP videos, funny enough. Doesn't he have, like, 7? Doesn't Foolish Fish have, like, 7 LBRP videos? Also, in case you're wondering, for philosophy, I recommend Agrippa. For I don't know where to start in the occult, I recommend a complete book of ceremonial magic. For I don't know how to start in the occult, like I know where I want to go, but I don't know how to get there. Damien Eccles' High Magic. For I want to be an initiated ceremonial magician, Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation by Liam Thomas Christopher is still my go-to for recommending for new people. Because it is the book that I have seen have the most results, and by their works you shall know them. And the results of that book are intensely good. So yeah, make of that what you will. Alright. Does anyone have any more questions about books or anything? Foolish Fish has like 4, I think. I swear to fucking God, I'm making a video about the LBRP at some point. And it will be the exact, like, it... I'm basically gonna make an anti-LBRP video. Enjoy that. How about Gallery of Magic? Gallery of Magic is very hit and miss. Their simpler stuff is okay, but I think that their stuff is a little bit too over-engineered. But generally speaking, it's pretty good. The only thing I would steer away from is just do the Albert Millen instead of that stupid Magical Destiny thing. Like, unironically. Like, get yourself initiated, get your life in order, then do the Albert Millen. That's my opinion on that. But yeah. Alright, last question for chat. Does anyone have any recommendations for games other than Baldur's Gate 3? Other than Baldur's Gate 3. Tommy Kelly has an extensive book collection, creates comics, music. You might like him in Chaos Magic. Starting in daily practices. I have a video coming about that next week. Divinity Original Sin. Okay, that's pretty good. Hollow Knight? Alright, maybe. I'll think about it. I'll think about some of these. Liam Thomas Christopher. Yeah. Liam Thomas Christopher has a really good book called Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation. It's the book Frederick Xavier recommends, for those of you familiar with Frederick Xavier. I recommend it as well. I got the recommendation from Frederick Xavier. I followed the book, and the book is really good. So, yeah. I've seen more successful occultists come out of that book than I have anywhere else. So make of that what you will. Ori and the Blind Forest, of fucking course Frederick Xavier used that for a background for a while. Did he use the book? Did he just straight up use the book? Did he just straight up use that book? Huh. Kind of weird. Alright. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Alright. So, I guess we're doing the outro now. I have been Dave, the Amateur Magus. I hope you enjoyed the stream tonight. Hope you're having a good day. If you're not having a good day, I hope either your day gets better if it's just starting, or I hope if you were just here for a long period of time, I hope your day got better as the stream went on. So, have a good rest of your day, or have a good, yeah. Have a good rest of your day, take it easy, and, now the spirit tree from the game? I believe that. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright. So I'm gonna end the stream, and then it will send y'all over to Spacetime Sorcerer channel, who I believe is doing SMT Nocturne and does answer occult questions. So if you ask him questions, he's much more chaos magic than I am. New patron, fun stuff. Alright. Happy to have everyone around, but alright. Take it easy. Now, this is me.